What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different video. This is going to be a little more analytical, a lot more of a rant, because I'm going to talk about the football team, which I've been avoiding watching. Well, not watching, not avoiding watching, but I've been avoiding conversations of it on social media, and I've been tuned about it endlessly by some of my friends. For those who know who you are, I'm looking straight into your soul, mother. Um, I'm here to talk about Liverpool. I'm here to talk about the issues the club faces, and I'm here to talk about what the specific issues are. Now, there's a mountain of issues. The players' loss of Diego Jota, the overwhelmingly exodus and the incoming of new players and new signings, and old players leaving, old profiles leaving, form players making inevitable silly mistakes. Ibrahim Kanate is the prime example. I said it at the beginning of this. I said it in the Bournemouth game. His head has been turned by Real Madrid. But let him go. I could not give a Real Madrid. Take him, bro. Have fun with him and Trent, bro. Please. Anyway, I'm here to talk about it all. And I'm not here to I'm here to provide a solution as well. I'm not just here to rant, which is why I've pulled out the football tactics board. I will leave a link in my description below if you're interested. It has a lot more usages on, I think, desktop than it does on iPad because I haven't figured out how to properly use it, but I at least know it well enough from this perspective to explain certain issues and about you issues to you. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, Liverpool Football Club are currently sitting 13th in the league table after winning the league last season in such a comfortable fashion. In what I mean by comfortable, the league was done by January. We were unofficially Premier League champions in February. It just is what it is. Now that came down to two things. We were champions in January due to the fact of Arne Slot's tactics taking the league by storm. They had never seen tactics like this before. The combination of Pep Guardiola's principles with Jurgen Klopp's principles that ultimately combined to create a baby that could not be stopped. Seriously, this guy was his guy in the slot penitentiary had almost everybody in except for that PSG team in the second leg of the Champions League and the Newcastle game. There's a lot of issues at the club. I could point to Van Dijk's lack of leadership, and I think that's also a point of contention. And I bring up the lack of leadership because Liverpool's at least belief now when it comes to winning games is hugely affected by the fact of Van Dijk's need for perfection. Once Van Dijk loses that need for your once Van Dijk loses his lead once Van Dijk loses his need for perfection, the whole team just falls apart. The whole team just completely like this that it's also, and the reason why this wasn't a thing in the past is because we had a leader like not James Milner, but like Jordan Henderson, who's been through the bad, who's been through the worst, and has come back before. Yes, I know Van Dijk was there for some of our legendary comebacks like 2019 against Barcelona, but he's never really had a situation where he needed to uplift the entire team. Jordan Henderson did the uplifting. It's very different. And I'm not saying Van Dijk is completely to blame, while he is a contributing factor in terms of how the team's actually playing. My biggest issue is with Arne Slot. Arne, hi, what's up, bro? I know last season you were amazing and you won us the league, and I'll be forever grateful for that. However, you're moving like Ruben Amorim. You are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Albert Einstein believed that doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity. He's insane. I don't know what you else to tell me. Every single time I pull up my screen, every single time I pull up to watch a Liverpool game, this is how we set up. 4-2-3-1 every single time without fail, like clockwork. Oni, it doesn't work. And it's worse is that it's not a normal 4-2-3-1. And it doesn't work for a hilarious amount of reasons. First of all, let's talk about the backline. These two here, Frimpong and Kirkis, the two players with which where they were bought to be the starting fullbacks, they don't work in this system because Oni is hell bent on making them inverted wingbacks. Now, if you don't know what inverted wingbacks are, where have you been for the past 3 years? And what sport were you watching? Because you weren't watching football. Inverted fullbacks were designed and made by Guardiola. It was done so that they were created so that they could add more bodies in the midfield, overwhelming it, forcing teams to not be able to gain control of the midfield. Because if you control the midfield, you control the game, and if you control the game, you can really dictate what actually happens. Anyway, these inverted fullbacks would provide bodies in the midfield and create a system like this, where there's four players in the midfield. Typical midfield obviously have three. However, it only works. It only works if all four players that go there are technically good as each other. IG, if a fullback is good enough to move into midfield and play competently and not lose the ball. In case you don't know, Liverpool had a player like that last season that played at right back. He wore the number 66. He now He now wears the number 12 for Los Blancos. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously I'm talking about Trent Arnold, the midfielder who played at right back, the the Kevin De Bruyne of right backs, the godfather of wing backs that can move into midfield. Gusto, Reece James, they're all imitations of Trent Arnold. Now, this worked last season because Trent was incapable of moving into the midfield and operating like this, allowing Salah to really have a lot of width and a lot of space. And because Trent was so good on the ball, right, especially once he got passed off line, teams could not press Salah as much, especially the wide players on the wing, because of how dangerous it would be if Salah, for example, let's just say a left back, for example, tried to come and press him. He couldn't properly press him because he also had to watch for Trent here. Now, obviously, in the most situations, they would have a player like that being marked by that left winger. But it was in a situation of you could not mark both of them because the quality they would have would be overwhelming. And then you add into fact, let's just say let me actually make a team that side. You could not press them both because Subazai would make a run here, drawing this away, forcing this to happen, forcing this to happen. I can't come press here because Trent would give the ball back to Salah, and then there's just a mountain of problems that just, start to happen. And Trent's eye for a pass, where he doesn't even need to touch the ball only once, could find players like Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez at the front and the back post, who could just create endless amount of problems. So that's why this season worked. However, we don't have that this season. Instead, we've got Frimpong, Kirkes at wingback. And the biggest issue Slot has had to deal with is coping with the fact he doesn't have the same players that he did last season. And that's other reasons why I think Slot is so much to blame. Because Slot has wanted these players, can't figure them out. First of all, Salah, the reason why Salah has been so generationally bad is because he's not a touchline winger. Yet he's being asked to touchline winger when he isn't a touchline winger. In case you have never played a football game or you've never touched a sport, if you get put in a position where you're doomed to fail, surprise, surprise, you're probably gonna fail. He, Salah, needs an inverted fullback to play this role. We don't have that. We have Frimpong and Conor Bradley, who want to hug the touchline. Frimpong is not a right back, by the way. He's a right wing back and a right mid at the very least. He's not a right back. He can't put him here. Doesn't do anything. Now, what is my suggestion to this? Well, my suggestion is quite simple. You convert the formation. Now, what formation you're probably thinking will work the best for the team? And the best solution is to play a 3-4-2-1. Get Salah closer to goal. That's where he does the most damage. Now, you probably think, who's going to play on the left side? How does this work on the left side? Obviously, you put Frimpong at right wing back. It's simple. Kirkis wants to bomb up and down the left flank. Ladies and gentlemen, what have I drawn? Well, my very accurate drawing has drawn the spaces in football. What are these? These spaces in football are basically where players operate in terms of spaces and profile of players operate in terms of spaces. Uh, these wide channels, uh, these wide channels right here, these wide channels right there, these wide channels right here, these wide channels right here are what's called the wide space in terms of the team. These players here love to operate and provide width for the team. So your Frimpong's, your Jeremy Doku's, your Savinho's, players that love to hug the touchline. Right? Kirkis is the best example of this here. This place right here is the center. This is the center. This is where teams, players operate the best. Players that love to operate best in essentially. So this will be your central defensive midfielder, your central midfielder, your attacking central midfielder, and your striker. The half space. This is an interesting position because this is very much more recent than anything. The half space is where players that operate best here are your midfielders, like your right midfielders, your left midfielders, that operate in the most contested, one of the most contested spaces where close control and one-touch passing and accuracy is needed the most. And you might be seeing that there's a number 7 there. That's because that's what Florian Wirtz will be the best at. Anyone that's watched him at Bayer Leverkusen in the recent years will know that that's where he did the most damage. Not operating as a touchline winger, slot. Not operating as a central attacking midfielder, slot. Operating as a left attacking midfielder. That's where he does his best work for Germany. That's where he does his best work for Bayer Leverkusen. You've watched him for the past 4 years, 3 years. You know this about him, slot. Play him there. Play him there. You'll get even better performances than you are right now. I'm a big Wirtz fan. I've defended him since he put on a Liverpool shirt. Please, slot, try it. Now, one of the biggest issues Liverpool had is their press. Well, their press can be sorted out by this simple formation. These three will have a lot less to do in terms of pressing with the amount of support behind him. Now, I know Frimpong is injured. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to replace him with... This is Bradley, but he's also injured. I'm going to replace him with... I wish I had the number 17 right now. With Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai. Dominic Szoboszlai is an endless engine that's really quick. Are you telling me Szoboszlai can't play this wing role? You're gonna look me dead in the face and tell me someone's like can't operate here. Like dead ass. Cookers would be the best here. This is where Cookers would do probably the most amount of damage on this wing side. That's where he's best. That's where he was best for Bournemouth. And I don't understand why Slot is so insistent on playing him there. He doesn't operate the best there. Stop it, Slot. It doesn't work. Gakpo is not a touchline winger. Stop trying to make him a touchline winger. He's not Luis Diaz. Please, get him closer to goal. Get Wurtz closer to goal. I'm begging you. Now, as for the midfield, that it demands so much physicality, Curtis Jones and McAllister can have enough speed and physicality to really bully what's going on in the midfield. And a player that could really help is Wataru Endo as a central defensive midfielder if Gravenberch isn't up for playing there. And you know what Gravenberch can then go and do? Provide Gravenberch can then turn around and provide physical presence in the midfield. That's the biggest issue at Liverpool right now. Effectively turning it into a back three. Again, transforming into a 3-4-3. This is my solution. I am convinced it can work. I'm convinced there's almost no drawbacks for trying it. I know it's a lot to get around, but everybody on the team can play this way. It doesn't need necessarily the same amount of testing. It doesn't need to be seen as much. It's obvious. It's very clear how this formation works. It's very clear. Basically, doing what Xabi Alonso was doing at Bayer Leverkusen. Providing width with wingbacks and having our most dangerous creative players closer to goal. It will create more chances. It will get Salah back up and firing. It will get Wurtz to finally ignite his final form. It can get Isak, who... in the Aston Villa game where Liverpool lost 3-0, I saw Isak get the ball here. I started screaming at the Showmax I was using when watching it. I started screaming. I saw my number 9 left wing. Oh! Worst part is Gakpo is on the field. It makes it worse because Gakpo wants to hug the touch. Because Gakpo, Slot wants Gakpo to hug the touchline. So it just makes it more infuriating. Slot, I'm not saying this, what I'm suggesting is the holy grail of principles. But I would struggle anybody. Please challenge me. How does this not work? Please. Challenge me. Help me understand. Listen, I have the beneficiary of hindsight. And obviously, if Slot then turns around and does this, everything I say right now would lose credibility. But please, somebody, give me a logically based argument. Why doesn't this work? And what the do we have to lose? Seriously, I've heard so many people blame the fans, blame not just the fans, but the players, to blame the staff. Guys, it's a manager issue. If you got a player manager that was really good at player managing, even if it was for one season, this team would win the Champions League. This team would win the treble. Because there's no team in the world that can handle the amount of quality in terms of player quality, not form, in terms of player quality that Liverpool possess. No team can. Which is what makes it more infuriating. Seriously, pound for pound, we're probably the best team in the world. Pound for pound. We go by position. We talk about the quality of these players that they have at them, the peak of what they've shown us up until this point in their career. Even though some of them are out that peak, like Van Dijk and Salah, I'm still convinced you would have as dominate teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Juve, Napoli, Inter Milan, Bayern Munich, Manchester City. You get the point. please, Arnie, I plead with you, I beg of you, make some changes for seriously. If I have to see 4-2-3-1, oh, supporting Liverpool is not for the weak, guys. Supporting a football club in general is not for the weak. Listen, more videos are gonna come out. This game is being recorded just before the PSV game. So if you stop and see stuff that you like in that PSV game, you can come back and leave a comment here. Uh, I'm going to try to record more videos in the future. If you enjoyed this little chat, leave a like button. Consider hitting that subscribe button as well. Those Liverpool fans that are still hopeful, continue being hopeful. That's the heart of our fan base. For fans that are giving up, don't give up yet. It's not over. Uh, don't. For Liverpool fans that agree with this, try to share this around, make this video popular so that Slots can maybe see it, and then we can change up everything, maybe. And for the fans that just don't think that rival fans that are just enjoying Liverpool fan tears, kindly fuck off. Kindly fuck off. Those people that have sent me videos and sent me stuff in relation to Liverpool, dickheads. And finally, I will be leaving a link to this tacticals board. And this idea has actually been shared around, but I've had it for quite a while. So if you think I'm copying anybody, I have not copied anybody. I don't plan on using any audio. So this idea what has a lot of people talk about it, but not fully explored. So that would be it. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there. And yeah.